Hi everybody. Just to get this out of the way, I'm sorry if the dark circles are a little distracting. I didn't have much sleep at all last night and it's been quite stressful. My senior dog was very obviously in pain. They didn't have any pills that weren't way old and past their effectiveness to relieve it. And of course, as is often the case with people who have had trauma in their lives, I instantly went backwards to the past. 6 months ago when I had to have my other senior dog put down. So I was panicking. I literally had someone scheduled to come between 12:30 and 2:30. Yep, that's do that window thing too. And then something said, wait a minute. And so I contacted a friend of mine who is an animal communicator, and as it turns out, guess. Now, why my dog doesn't know how to fart, I don't know. I didn't think this was a skill that was all that uncommon in dogs or people, but he didn't have a way to release the pressure, and that can be very painful. So I make his own food because he's allergic to some things, and his teeth aren't so great because he's old, and I hadn't been putting all the things in that I should to give him good movement. Hopefully what I cooked up and added this afternoon will help. I think it is, because for the first time in many hours he's actually resting. He's right next to me and he's not in so much pain that he can't take a little dog nap. So the video was about childhood PTSD. This is a diagnosis that I was given a 1.5 years ago, and I had no idea that children could be diagnosed with PTSD. It probably is a no-brainer. My brain just didn't go there. I knew that there could be PTSD after being raped as a young woman, but I didn't realize that my whole damn life, this is my diagnosis. And this video is about behaviors or habits or patterns that are commonly found in people that suffer from CPTSD, which could be childhood PTSD or chronic PTSD. Either way you look at it, it's gone back a long time. And I don't want you to listen to the rest of this and judge yourself. Oh my God, how could I have done that? We don't realize it. It is getting that knowledge out there so people do start realizing, oh, this is something I do because of. So don't be harsh. Uh-oh, I hear him bouncing around. He must be starting to hurt again. Dang it, it's so hard for me to experience that. Now I said experience, and that was actually good timing, because here's the definition from the National Institute of Mental Health. Childhood trauma is the experience of an event by a child that is emotionally painful or distressing, which often results in lasting mental and physical effects. The experience of, we all experience things differently. So if you had things happen in your childhood and you've had people say, oh, why would that be a big deal? That's nothing. That's just because that person would experience the same thing in a different way. We've all seen kids that could fall down and crack their heads open and have a concussion and jump right up and say, hey, I'm fine. And then there are kids that are just destroyed by a tiny bit of criticism. We all experience things differently. So don't decide that you could not have CPTSD. That's a tough one for me to say. CPTSD. Just because someone said, oh, you always overreact, or why would you think that was a big deal? How you experience is how you experience. So remember that even if, as you listen to this list, you want to be embarrassed or feel ashamed, seeing that these are things you do that are self-defeating or self-sabotaging, don't judge it to be your fault, because childhood trauma is actually considered injury to the brain. It doesn't have to be physical injury. Emotional trauma is still injury to the brain, and it causes us to react to life in different ways, called dysregulation. It just is something that stems from what we've gone through. Now, if you're not ready to heal it, that's cool. But if you at least recognize that you may do some of these things, you might at least catch yourself and say, oh, well, now I know why I do this. When you're ready to heal, you'll heal. But in the meantime, you have some important information that you can kind of file away for the future. It's important to stop the cycle of negative thinking, blame, obsession with the people that hurt you, isolating from society, repeating stories about how you never felt seen or heard. See this? Hands up. Now, there is a quiz you can take, and I did look at quite a few of them before I found one that you don't have to enter your email address, because I don't like that at all, that you can't get your information after taking a quiz without giving them your email address, which is basically agreeing to have a bunch of crap in your inbox. And in case I forget to put the link up, I'm just going to say the link is psychcentral.com/quizzes/PTSD-quiz number symbol 1. And if I do forget and I somehow screwed that up, and remember that's all squished together, you could just look up Psych Central PTSD quiz if you want to get an idea of where you are in the range, and if maybe you want to consider seeing a counselor or a therapist about it. Now, I got 30 out of 30. And I'm not embarrassed about it, it just explains a lot. So don't look at it as something to feel bad about or ashamed about, please. If you score high also, hey, we're still here. We're managing to function. We may have some self-defeating behaviors, but now we're becoming aware of them, and maybe we can do something about them, right? Black and white thinking. It's either this or it's this. There could possibly something be hiding in between. There can't be other perspectives. It's got to be this or this. I did that backwards and that was just really awkward, but I've already stopped this, deleted, and started again several times, so you're just gonna have to put up with my bumbling. I mean, you know, I haven't had that much sleep. That is something that people that suffer with childhood PTSD deal with. They're rigid in their thinking. It's not your fault if that's you. But if you can catch yourself, you might think, well, now wait a minute. Could there be a different way of looking at this? Maybe you'll see some gray. The next one is neglect of your body. So it could be wearing ripped clothes you haven't laundered over and over perhaps, and I'm guilty of that. I sleep in my clothes sometimes. And then I don't take a shower the next day, and same clothes. It also could be that you don't exercise, even though you know you feel better when you do. Make that effort. It could be a lack of personal hygiene. It's just not wanting to take care of our bodies, whether we're conscious of it or not. That may be because the trauma that occurred had something to do with the body. I'm not sure. I don't remember reading any further explanation of that. Addictive use of food. Anorexia, bulimia, binging on carbs and sugar. You know, I had bulimia after I was raped, it was my theory that I needed to feel like I had some control over what went into my body and what went out when I decided it would, because I felt like my whole world had gone out of control. So that could have something to do with it when you just feel kind of powerless. Addictive use of media or entertainment. Ironic, since this is media, possibly entertainment. But watching one video here or there is a lot different than never just sitting down and being still with yourself because you don't want to go there. So you distract yourself by always being on social media. It could be watching TV too. Dishonesty, hiding truths about oneself, lying, cheating. I don't remember the explanation for this, but I would think it's more than manipulation. It may be shame about what the truth is. Let me think. Hiding truths about self. Yeah, it could be like wearing a mask. Work problems. So staying in a job that isn't satisfying, doing more than everyone else does, or having excessive conflicts with your boss or your co-workers. That's another self-defeating behavior, common. Numbing with substances. Booze, pot, whatever the flavor is that you prefer, it's numbing. It's running away from dealing with what you're feeling. And it's very common in people with childhood PTSD. So if you've been down on yourself and wondering why you just can't shake that certain addiction, it could be sex, it could be shopping, it could be all sorts of things. Just anything that helps you let off pressure. It's a coping mechanism. Okay, here's a big one. Blame, bitterness, victim thinking. This is believing that everything that's wrong with you is someone's fault or something's fault, and obsessing about the damage done to you, not being able to let it go. Not saying that the trauma was your fault, not saying you have to go in the opposite direction, but it's just always looking elsewhere, and instead of working on some things in your life, you just continue to blame and say, I'm this way because. Rage attacks, stemming from what started as irritability and built into something that could shock even you. Attracting other traumatized people to distract yourself from having to face things you need to face. Trauma bonding, you've probably heard of. Abuse of sexuality, which could be over-sexualized appearance, inappropriate, seductive behavior, maybe just having a lot of sexual encounters, trying to be delicate here. Maybe you hook up a lot. Forget delicate, I'm not very delicate. It is kind of tied with unfulfilled romantic life, which could range from not dating at all, because you don't want to try that again. The last however many really kicked your ass, to staying in a bad relationship that has no intimacy and that isn't fulfilling to you because you've told yourself you don't want to get hurt again. So it's safer to just be alone, or safer to stay with someone that really let me try that again. staying with someone that really doesn't do it for you because you're afraid of a more intimate connection. But you tell yourself it's because you don't want to be hurt again. Fantasizing but not taking any reasonable actions to make it happen is another one. It says it can go as far as stalking and obsession. I just notice why do I think I have to correct this when I'm on camera? Maybe I dictated it because it came out stalking like a Christmas stocking. Okay. Total avoidance of people, which used to be called being a shut-in. I call myself being a hermit. It is actually called now, these days, sociosexual anorexia. That's a fancy term. But it is just being afraid to be around people because of the trauma you've experienced. And the last one is called debting. Living beyond our means, having trouble balancing income and spending. It can extend to gambling addiction. And the last one is kind of an example of what happened to me with my dog. Repeating traumatic patterns by an inability to detect that what's going on is not what happened before, you just instantly are there. And then the other one is that you may not detect danger or threatening things in people because you've already been exposed to danger and things that were harmful to you, and so you've become immune to being able to pick them up in others, and you subject yourself to it over and over again because you just aren't looking for those signs. You're used to them. Again, it is just important to be aware when these things are coming up in your own behavior because they're part of a cycle that isn't healthy for you. And I'm not saying that people can't have addictions or have issues at work or have debt that don't have childhood PTSD. These are just, again, things that are very commonly found in people that are dealing with that. I hope that gave you some helpful information. Again, it's up to you what you want to do with it. You don't have to do anything, but it could be that the next time one of these things pops up, like you're blaming that son of a bitch, whatever, or you're saying I am warped or messed up because I had a rough childhood, you might think that there's a different way you could look at it. And the way I look at it for myself is all those experiences made me the person I am now. Yeah, I still have a lot of these behaviors that I need to catch myself at and modify them, hopefully, eventually. But if I can't deal with something, it's important that I realize I'm just not at that stage in my journey, development, however you want to look at it. If you're not ready to deal with these things with a counselor or a therapist, it's okay. When you're ready, you'll deal with it. But just having the information could come in handy someday. Oh, I know what else I should say. There is a channel on YouTube that's called The Crappy Childhood Fairy. And it is a woman that's not a therapist. She's not a counselor. She is a person just very familiar with childhood PTSD. She has found ways to help herself. And it's a subscribe or join kind of thing, which I'm sure involves money. I didn't go that far. But she's very down to earth and she has things to share. So if you want to check her out, please do. All right, guys. Take care.